7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hey, you! Come over here. I got a secret. Yeah, you! Come on over. I got a secret for you. Come here, closer. Do you want to know what the most reliable 3 Series BMW is? I'm going to share that with you right now. Okay, everybody, we're going to review my top picks for most reliable 3 Series BMWs today that money can buy. Now, generally as a rule, let's get to this. There's certain things you want to avoid for sure without even talking about specific models to buy. Certain things you want to avoid in the 3 Series marketplace. V8 motors, SMG transmissions, DCT transmissions, all-wheel drive systems, turbos. Those are all things that add complexity to an engine. And unfortunately, a lot of the modern F30 and F80 engines have numbers of features. And as a result, the F30 and F80 cars, they're still fairly new, so it's kind of hard to judge them right now. But they themselves may have a lot of issues as time goes on. So as a rule, I'm not saying don't buy the F30 and F80 series of 3 Series. That's the newest stuff, basically. What I am saying, though, if you're going to buy them, make sure you get the latest and the greatest, that hopefully you have some warranty, you're satisfied with the service history, and that overall the miles are reasonable. After all, these are the latest from the brand, and they can't all be bad. It's just that time will tell which ones are weaker than other ones. So as a rule, if you want the later cars, don't necessarily feel free to shy away from them. I'm just going to give you what I know as the most reliable 3 Series BMWs. Now, let's go on. Another thing that you want to be watching out for are transmissions. So you've got to understand that BMW has used different variations, General Motors or ZF transmissions along the way. ZF is the primary used transmissions throughout the series. They still use them today in many or more capacities. As an example, the new M5, but they use ZF transmissions way back in a lot of the 3 Series cars in the 80s, 90s and such. And you've got to understand that they are actually very robust. So as a rule, they shift well, they work well, and if well maintained, are very, very reliable. That being said, an automatic transmission is not a bad choice in busy cities and stop and go traffic, but at the end of the day, a manual transmission is always the more sporting touch. As well, there's less moving parts, so likely you're going to have less issues in the long run with a manual gearbox. It's just generally more fun that way. So before we get into our list of the top 5 choices that I have for you, you make sure that you hit the subscribe button of the channel. Don't forget the notification bell so you know when the next great video comes out, as well as like, and I'd love to hear your comments down below. So let's get moving. The first choice of most reliable, we'll start with the oldest, most reliable 3 Series BMW goes to the E36 325i, and that is equipped with a manual gearbox. So that run would be in the 1991 to 1995 years, and was actually a very sporting car in its day. Still to this day, it has a very spunky engine with 189 horsepower and a manual gearbox. This car was guaranteed to provide lots of fun. Now some of you guys might ask, what about the 328 that came later? Well, no, the 328 was actually a different engine type and actually had issues with high sulfur content, would tend to eat away on the Nicosol liners that you found in the 328 cars. And because of that Nicosol sort of eating away from high sulfur content back in those earlier years, that's why I would primarily recommend the 325. It was relatively bulletproof and you didn't have those issues. It was actually a different generation of engine than the 328. And I would be more than satisfied with the 189 horsepower it provided. So my second choice goes to the E46 330i or 330ci, or even better, the 330 ZHP, which is the extra performance-oriented car that they actually, BMW bumped up the power a wee bit and added a whole bunch of track-oriented suspension bits and pieces as well. There were some cosmetics like spoiler upgrades and things, but in essence, it was an upgraded 330ci. And the ZHP package was a really, really nice performance version. That being said, we're really essentially talking about reliability, and the 330 had the 3-liter inline 6 engine that was more or less the same as what you found in the 325 of the same generation, which was the M54 motor that shared the same bore as the 325, but had an increased stroke over the 325, and therefore created a wee bit more power. Up from the 189, you had now had 225 horsepower. So my third choice in terms of top reliability for 3 Series BMWs goes to the E46 325i. As you can tell, but the XI, you'll notice the XI on there, that's the all-wheel drive version. I would probably do without that unless you really need the all-wheel drive or CI or any of those variations of the 325, which also uses the basic engine architecture that you found in the 330, and it's the M54. The reason I say this is the most reliable is because it's the tried and true, the silky smooth inline 6 engine that BMW is so well known for. In this, guys, in the 325, in the E46 variation, it produces 189 horsepower. Again, same from you would find in the E36, but again, just in a slightly newer skin. But that 325 engine was one of the most reliable BMWs ever produced. And when you coupled that with a manual gearbox, there was almost nothing you needed to worry about other than standard maintenance. Yeah, you could still have water pumps, so you could have leaky valve cover gaskets. I mean, those aren't necessarily uncommon tasks for any BMW, but really that was about all you had to worry about. Everything else was pretty basic. The car was fun to drive, and it just kept on going, and they had such a strong reputation and were very, very popular for many, many years. So my fourth favorite and most reliable 3 Series BMW, again that silky smooth inline 6, goes to the E90 328 this time. This time the 325 is actually still a great engine, but because the 328 now uses the same engine setup as the basic 330, which is the N52 engine, and it has been vastly improved upon over the previous 328. It's actually based on the previous generation 330 in the E46. The new N52 has proven to be far more reliable than the previous 328 engine. It's as good as anything the 325s or the 330s from the E46. And this time it produced about 231 horsepower and about 200 foot-pounds of torque. And again, there's a common theme here. Straight 6 engine by BMW, buttery smooth, super reliable. And so the fifth choice for the most reliable 3 Series BMW goes to the E90 330i that shares the same N52 engine as you would find in the 328. The difference is some slight fine tuning. This engine, of course, N52 as a rule, took advantage of some upgrades from exhaust tuning, DME tuning, as well as intake manifold is upgraded from the previous generations of 330 and 325. That's how they extracted more power. But now the 330 and the E90 produced up to 268 horsepower. And they produced these cars in 2005 to about 2013. So that would, to me, would be the newest version of a reliable, silky smooth inline 6 BMW that money can buy, with performance in mind, of course. Don't forget, after that, BMW all of a sudden started adapting turbochargers and went with smaller engines. As you saw a previous review I did of a newer 330, it actually had a turbocharged inline 4. Again, yet to be verified or proven how reliable they are. Time will tell. So that's my top 5 for most reliable BMWs. The common theme here you have to understand, everybody, is they were all inline 6s. That truly is BMW's benchmark engine series. So hope everybody you enjoyed that video. You please make sure you, again, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do as well. Don't forget to check the most unreliable 3 Series BMW, a previous video I just recently posted. Don't forget to check that one out. So if you don't want one of these cars, just make sure you don't fall into the trap of one of those other cars unless you're prepared to spend the cash. So thanks again, everybody, for coming out. I'm glad you watched the video. I hope to see you on the next one, and we'll see you real soon, everybody. Bye-bye.